I hold in my hand one of the most touching letters that I've ever read. This is from Mary Todd Lincoln after they lost Willie in the White House. Willie, they said, was this 11-year-old son that died during the second year of the war, 1862, while a reception was going on downstairs. The mother and father went up to visit the two stricken boys. Both had gotten ill off the water in the White House. But Willie, a favorite of everybody's because he knew poetry. They said he was the most like his father of any of the kids. He was just a joy to be around, a perfect child, if you will, which is hard to find. Died, and it was one of the saddest things. Mary Lincoln never did recover. The president really never did recover either. We always emphasize Mary going insane at this point, and it getting worse when her husband was assassinated and when Tad finally died in 1867, 2 years after his father, leaving only one son, Robert. In this letter, though, she includes a picture of Willie, a photograph, and you might notice on the envelope that President Lincoln has free-franked it, signed it, A. Lincoln, which meant that it went free of postage. The letter itself, though, I just want to quote from it. It says it's written to a gentleman, a friend of theirs who had lost his wife, and they had been friends of the family when they had Willie and knew Willie. And she's writing a couple of months after Willie's death. The sad intelligence of the death of your most excellent wife had reached me 2 or 3 weeks before I received your letter, and I have been so bowed down and broken-hearted myself, or I should have written you to express my deep sorrow in your heavy bereavement. Where Mrs. Reeves, his wife's dead wife's name, was known, there her goodness and influence was ever felt. She was one of the pure-hearted beings of this world, who are most frequently first removed. In his own time, we will know why it is. The hereafter will explain many things that are now in the dark and mysterious to us. Our own afflictions are so overwhelming, my husband and myself are so crushed and sorrowful, that we can well sympathize with those who mourn. Our hearts can go out towards those who weep. We know in our trials that the heavy stroke came from a father's hand. Yet it is so difficult, while our hearts are bleeding, to be submissive. There was no lovelier boy than ours, and none more precious or more dearly loved, yet he has been called away. And we are left to our desolations and agony. Our beloved Willie dearly loved your wife, and I know she equally as much was attached to him. And I fully know and believe that they are this day together, rejoicing in the presence of their Savior. I have shed many, many tears over the last writing of your sainted wife in memory of our darling boy. If it were not for the hope that by serving God rightly here we may be enabled to meet them again, what would life be? As it is, there are days when I feel I cannot struggle on much longer. Just a short time before his illness, I had intended sending Mrs. Reeves his photograph, which did not do Willie justice. Please receive this from me. If you should ever come onto Washington, I will show you a painting of him very much like him and far handsomer than this. Please excuse this letter, written in much haste and almost blotted by my tears. When we weep here, we can only remember that there all tears are wiped away from their eyes. Sorrow never enters there. They had different ways of responding to the death of their son, much like other people that have lost children. But Mary would never go in the room that her son passed away in, and Lincoln wouldn't leave it. They had to literally take his son's body away after a couple of days. There was about a week of the war when we had no president, because they were totally destroyed by it. Lincoln got deeper and closer on his knees afterwards, and that was the effect it had on him. On her, she was never really able to totally reconcile. I'm sure he wasn't either, but he said he was driven to his knees as a result of it. And it was soon after this that the war, in his mind, became a struggle for freedom for the Negro. It was after the death of Willie when he really changed his idea on what the war was, and he felt like the war wouldn't end until we had paid for our national sins of slavery.